when I won Worlds in 87, I'd say maybe 10, 15% of people that I spoke to even knew what I was talking about. Like disc golf. You mean discount golf, right? No, not discount golf. Disc, plastic flying discs. That's crazy, really? And now I would say maybe 15% of people have not heard of disc golf. You do your drills, and then when you need them on the course, if you've done your job, they should be there for you. Well, I don't think I'd be overstating it to say I was the best putter at that tournament. I missed, I think, one inside 40 pretty much the whole week. Hi, I'm Gregg Hosfeld, 1987 world champion, sponsored by Innova Champion Discs, and you're listening to the Chain Clankers podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Chain Clankers podcast. Myself, Horatio, with my partner Q. We have a really good episode for you guys today. Got onto a bunch of different topics, but really interesting. Hopefully, keep you guys entertained. On your drive into work, on your lunch break, whatever it is, or if you're out there, playing around, listening to us. That's awesome. Glad to be, you guys spending the time with us. But what did we talk about this episode, Q?
Yeah, today we had on world champion Gregg Hosfeld. Super fun to talk to him. He's one of the smartest guys in disc golf that you're all ever talked to. He's played over 1,000 different courses and has designed many, many more. So this guy knows what he's talking about, especially the second ace round question that we ask every episode. Yeah, you're going to want to make sure you stay tuned for that one because his answer is pretty fun and maybe you'll be able to go down there someday as well. So we really talked about his journey, how he became a world champion, as well as we talk a lot about course design and the implications of course design, as well as how you can better prepare for tournaments. Tournament season is here. I am playing in a tournament upcoming. Actually, by the time this episode drops, my tournament will be over and I've got more on the schedule. Horatio's start thinking about getting some on the schedule and you probably do as well. So we wanted a fresh episode about how you can be more prepared for your tournament rounds, how you can play better in your tournament rounds and therefore have more success in your tournament rounds. So you're going to want to make sure you stay tuned through the end to hear all of Gregg's incredible tips. Before we get on to our episode with Gregg, I do want to give some shout outs to our sponsors of the Chain Clankers. We are so thankful to Disc Dot, Upper Park Disc Golf, and OTP Discs for sponsoring the Chain Clankers. You support our podcast and what we do by supporting our sponsors. We have affiliate links and promo codes in the description below. So make sure you check them out. If you want to improve your putting, if you want a better disc golf bag, and if you want some of the best discs in the game, you're going to want to make sure you check out our sponsors. Again, you support our show by supporting our sponsors, as well as leaving us that 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I see those ratings coming in. I think we're to at least 60 on both. So 40 away from being able to do the giveaway. It's going to be a good giveaway once we get there. Thank you guys so much. We really do appreciate everything that you guys do for us. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you let us know in the comments down below. Without further ado, let's get the world champ on. You heard him in the intro. We've got the world champ on today's podcast. You've heard him a little bit in our big group episode, but today we are going to learn more about Gregg Hosfeld's journey and how he became a world champion in the sport of disc golf. Gregg, how are we doing tonight?
Fabulous. Just looking forward to getting talking with you guys. And yeah, man, I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, I know you said you had quite a bit of disc golf stuff going on. Can you talk a little bit about that? Is it classified or what do you have going on?
Actually, there's something going on right now that's definitely classified. And but when it comes to light, I'm hoping that it will be news. And not just to me, but to the disc golf community in general. But on the more local scene, I've got 5 of 6 courses playable in the Lake County Disc Golf Trail project in Lake County, which is a little bit northwest of Orlando. One more to go there. Somebody new at the head of the project, so we have to go in and kind of check in with them before we move on to the last project. Just a lot of little things in the works, and most of them are working with parks departments and governments, so they are moving slower than molasses in January, but things are rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. My guess is maybe we get a course suited for the Disc Golf Pro Tour to come down to Florida next year. I don't know, wink, wink. That would be pretty fun if that was the classified info.
Well, I mean, the goal of the Lake County Disc Golf Trail Project was to bring people into town and put heads in beds. So we are hoping to bid for a Solinsky soon. So we are definitely hoping to get the elders here, and I think that they'll really enjoy the courses. We've got two that are doing very well. I think right now I've got to look at the at DGCR again, which nobody uses anymore. But I think we've got something like 7 of the top 10 courses in Florida, or at least, I mean, I have 7 of the 10 top courses, and a couple of them are on the Lake County Disc Golf Trail as well.
What is the DGCR?
Oh, Disc Golf Course Review. See, I told you nobody goes there.
That's what I thought it was. Before like UDisc and stuff really became popular, I remember trying to look up like courses, and that came up, and I said, wow, this website has not been touched in a minute.
It's a shame because it's the only course directory that actually asks people to be thoughtful and contemplative about what they think about the course. With all respect to all of UDisc's other features, a lot of the reviews, well, they're not reviews, they're ratings, and they're usually based on some sort of knee-jerk reaction as opposed to really thinking about the entire project and as a whole, Yeah, and I think that's important. As a course designer, that makes a big difference to me.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like those reviews on UDisc are kind of like reviews on Amazon. It's like,
right?
The only people that will go on there are the ones that had like an amazing experience or an absolutely awful experience. And that's, who you get reviews from. And also, we just went and played a course this weekend, and it was wooded and kind of tough. And I was noticing that people that really loved that challenge gave it really good reviews. And the people that weren't very skilled yet and didn't know how to play in the woods and played bad gave it a bad review because it was really hard. Yeah. And that's not what it should be, kind of like we were talking about.
Well, no, but I mean, you only know what you know, and so people at the beginning of their disc golf career, I've gotten some of my best courses have gotten a 1 or a 2 because they lost a disc. And, you talk to them and they're like, I was playing the tips. I was playing the men's tees. And they're like, well, they weren't built for you, bro. Try your hand at the easier stuff and work your way up to the tips. But
have you ever left a review on a course before, Horatio?
I've left ratings, but not reviews. Kind of like I was talking about, I've never had a amazing experience or really bad to leave a review. I'm not really a person that leaves reviews, but I definitely need to because I look at them before I go play a course. So it's one of those things where I'm using the feature and like taking advantage of it, but I'm not giving back. So definitely, that's our quick tip right now. If you guys are using UDisc or DGCR or anything, if you use those things and you like to see what courses are like before you drive an hour, 2 hours, leave a review if you go out there and play it, but do it honest. Give us a quick rundown of what a review should be like, a little short review. What's good for designers and just for other players who are from out of town?
There's so many aspects to the course. I mean, you want to make sure that people look at things like whether there's parking, whether the fairways separate from each other. There's plenty of space, no safety issues apparent. In some cases, if the tees, if there's dual tees, are they all stacked in a line or are they diverse? Do they come at it from different angles? Same with dual baskets, which I'm doing a lot of those now. In Florida, shade is of particular value, and people don't really consider that sometimes. But man, yeah, there's a lot of little things. I mean, we have. Does it have decent bathrooms? Does it have
bathrooms?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think we have one course locally with a bathroom, and that's because it's a park and it's just bathrooms for the park. But no other course that I can think of has a bathroom. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of people leave reviews on a course, and the entire park is reflected.
Yeah.
And that's just a lot of people, when they refer to the course, they're really referring to the entire park. But you want to make sure, like when I'm doing dual tee, dual basket courses, theoretically, they are catering to 4 different skill levels. And so if I've done my job, then that will be the case. Now, whether the person chooses to play a configuration that is actually commensurate to their skill set, that's up in the air. We don't know. Or even if they play a tournament there, then it's up to the tournament director to make the proper assignments for certain skill sets. But yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of things. I mean, you want to just make sure that you're trying to make the experience pleasant. And one of the big issues that we see is not just routing, but also well signed. In Florida, we get a lot of one and done players. They just want to rip through, play it, and head out. And if they aren't well signed, then they have a much harder time getting around. It's not nearly as pleasant an experience.
Yeah, makes sense. So, I've loved this discussion so far, talking about course design. I want to get into it in more detail, but I want to start off more with how you got into disc golf, and then eventually we'll kind of get back into course design. So Gregg, what was your first instance with disc golf? How did you find the sport?
I didn't find disc golf right away. Actually, I was just a Frisbee player all the way through my childhood. We played Frisbee football on the street. And our whole neighborhood was really into that. And one day, my next door neighbor, Gary Getman, who, by the way, could go through the entire alphabet and up to 10 in one belch. Pretty impressive. And he came over and told me that the Florida State Frisbee champs were doing a demo at a halftime at a semi-pro football game in town. And I was like, oh, really? Well, let's just go see how good these guys are. And we got there, and turned out it was Mark and Jeff Watson. Now, they were great overall players, which back in the early days, most Frisbee players, that's what they were. They were overallers. And so they did an amazing demo. They were doing freestyle mostly. And I made sure that my next door neighbor and I were throwing, just playing catch outside the only gate through which the Watsons could leave. And so they finished their demo. They came out and they saw us throwing, and they said, hey, you play, huh? Well, we play Sundays out here at this particular park. Come on out. Gary didn't, but I did. And I followed him around for 4 years until I beat him. But we played ultimate. We played freestyle. We did field events and that sort of thing. And they turned me on to disc golf. Now, are you familiar with Jeff Watson at all?
Not enough. Not a whole lot.
Okay. Well, for those that don't know, Jeff Watson was the second ever PDGA world champion. He won in 1983 in Huntsville. And he also won a couple of years before. He won the disc golf event in the Rose Bowl at the World Frisbee Championships. And I don't know if that was 81, 80. I don't recall the year. But anyway, the Watsons turned me on to not just disc golf, but pretty much all of competitive flying disc sports. And after a while, I realized that disc golf, I apologize, either my dome light keeps going out or the tumor's coming back. I can't figure out which. But anyway, yeah, they pretty much turned me on to it. And I got into competition around 76 and never looked back.
Tell us a little bit about the field events, because we've heard about some of the other, earlier stuff in Disc Golf Ultimate and whatnot, but what do those field events look like? If you could just give us a quick little rundown.
Sure. Well, distance is obviously self-explanatory, just go as far as you can. Self-caught flights is actually divided into two events. One is maximum time aloft, where you throw it and run it down, catch it with one hand cleanly, and it's for time. And then the other aspect of that, SCF, is throw, run, and catch, where you do the same thing, but you do it for distance. And they have a multiplier. And discathon is an event that is sort of a foot race with a disc. You make the disc travel a course, but there's no baskets. A lot of running. Not a lot of people do that recreationally, only for overall tournaments. Freestyle, obviously, is doing the tricks, the trick aspect, the hot dog aspect of Frisbee. And I love freestyle because for me, it was the exact polar opposite of disc golf. Disc golf is slow, plodding, and methodical, whereas freestyle is very quick and reactive. And but both are very active in problem solving. Disc golf, you have to do it slowly and then execute. And freestyle, you're doing it reactively, as right now. So let's see. Double disc court, another amazing game. It's basically two courts that are, say, 15 meters by 15 meters, and they're separated by, I think, 15 or 17 meters. Two guys in each court as a team. Each team has a disc, and you try to get your disc in the other team's court. And as it comes to your court, you have to defend by either catching it or letting it go out. So if it's going to land in and roll out or touch out of bounds at any point, you want to let it go. And there's a lot of communication. And the really big fun aspect of it is that you try to catch the other team with two discs in their possession at the same time. So there's amazing escapes where you've got two discs coming at you at the same time, and you have to tip one in the air. The other guy catches the second one, gets rid of it, and then you catch the first tip and deliver it and hope then the other team has the opportunity to escape or not. So it's crazy. It's an amazing game. I'm not doing it any justice by explaining it. That's for certain. But that's most of the overall events. I'm probably leaving something out, but
yeah, that one sounds like so much fun. I would mess around and play that. I think Horatio, would make a pretty good team if we did something like that. So my question then is, why did disc golf take off in popularity so much more than overall?
Well, it's less physically demanding, for one. It's the concentration level of disc golf is really, you only have to concentrate for those moments where you're up. Otherwise you're spectating. You may be thinking about strategy or what to do next or whatever. But I mean, currently I'm 63. I had an aorta attack 4 years ago, and I can still play disc golf. I really can't do those other events now. So if you can throw, you can play disc golf. And I think the fact that you can get pretty mediocre pretty darn fast, as opposed to golf, where it takes a long time to even get lousy. So I think that's one of the primary reasons, or a few of the primary reasons. You can play all the way until you just simply can't walk into the woods.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one of the big reasons. And also just about anyone can play, whoever wants to. You go out to a course and you see every shape and size or whatever you will, out there playing disc golf. And it's great to see because, you don't have to be tall to be good. You don't have to be skinny to be good. You don't have to be whatever, athletic to be good. And it's not even a matter of, being better than other people. It's just kind of fun being out there and improving. I think it's one thing that gets a lot of people out there. I mean, we were just watching the Las Vegas Challenge, and I was just telling Quentin how Brody Smith, he almost finished in the top 4, and he just started playing, 3 years ago. He's a COVID player, started playing around that time.
No, there's a little more to it than that.
And he's previously Ultimate. Yeah, he used to play Ultimate.
He's got a very long Ultimate career. He also, he coached. You may have heard of his obscure coach. You may have heard of that Macbeth guy.
Yeah.
That didn't hurt his chances. And
And also, Horatio, let me jump in real quick because by the time people listen to this, they're going to be confused. We're recording this at the end of round 1. So when Horatio, maybe Brody Smith wins and I'll just cut this out. But I'm just saying, I want to make sure it's very clear in case he finishes like 40th and we get roasted that we are recording right now at the end of round 1. Sorry, go ahead, Horatio.
Even if he finishes 40th, he was still almost finished in the top 4 for round 4, competing with the guys that have been playing, some of them all their life. But what I'm trying to say, the point I'm trying to make is that like you were saying, anyone can get good at the sport if they're willing to commit the time. And yes, he had Paul Macbeth to help him coach, which, you can find a lot of those videos. You can find any pro to coach you, from YouTube. But I feel like Brody Smith is definitely like one of the hardest working players. Like he works his butt off, but there's not many excuses. Like if you want to be good and if you want to go on tour and you want to compete at something what you want to do, disc golf allows you to do that if you're willing to put in the time.
Yeah, I mean, the really amazing thing about it, you touched on this earlier, it is incredibly inclusive. Little children can play right next to adults. Beginners can play right next to world champions because ultimately, we're not competing against each other. We're competing against the course and ourselves. And really what anybody else does in your group should theoretically have zero bearing on your game. Unlike most other competitive sports where you're going head to head with people. And so what they do has a direct impact on what you do, even Ultimate. And in disc golf, that's not the case. Now, it's all, what that does, And so with disc golf, I love the fact that, Brody's been able to come into this thing and improve incredibly well, far more than most people would have anticipated.
It's just very, I guess, humbling or inspiring, to a lot of people because, a lot of other sports professionals, and this might change, in 10 years, that might not be the case. The level might be might increase so much that you won't be able to do that. But at this moment, you can look at it and be like, I'm 32 or whatever, with the age you are, maybe you're not young. And you're like, well, I'm not like Emerson Keith or Eagle McMahon who started when they were, just walking. I'm not like those guys. I'm never going to be able to be good. So it's inspiring to see someone like Brody and other players, Ella also in previous Ultimate, just picking it up and competing and saying, and just, I guess, that little spurt of, light that you can do it, for people that didn't pick it up when they were children.
Yeah, it's the earlier you start anything, the greater chance you have at becoming a virtuoso or a pro. And, so the folks that, whose parents played. I mean, look at Val and Avery. Both of their parents were players. Mom's world champ, so they had an amazing head start on everyone, and that's the great thing about it.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is, if you want a future world champion out there, if you're a parent and you want your child to be a pro or, a future world champ, as soon as they can walk, start taking them out to the course, give them the discs, have them start throwing and learning, and let's get this thing going.
Before that, actually, you want to give them a mini so they're teething on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
I feel like there's a very blurry line with that. If you do that incorrectly, if you push it on them too hard, they will grow up to hate the sport and, to have nothing to do with it.
Sure. Well, I mean, I had that experience with golf. I mean, I took up, my dad was a tremendous golfer. He was like Elks Club state champion, Florida state champion, like 5 years in a row. And before that, I took golf lessons in '69, won my class, and went out to play with my old man. And you hooked it. So you know what? I don't need this humiliation. I have friends for that. And I discovered disc golf after that, and I never looked back. And the whole key is to just make it fun, which my dad did not do. I didn't have fun playing golf, and I just wasn't interested.
Yeah, absolutely. You really got to keep it fun, even for, let's say you're bringing out your friends who have heckled you for years and years and years, and you're finally getting them to go out. You want to keep it light. You want to keep it fun because you want to keep them coming back. As soon as you really start to be Mr. I'm going to give you a tip every single time you do something wrong, or I'm going to call out everything, once you start being that guy or gal, that's how you get less people wanting to come out with you. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. You want to make it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I give a lot of lessons in my area. And, when I play with somebody that's pretty new, I always ask first, do you mind if I make a suggestion or something like that? But, I won't, through the whole course of the whole round, come on, man, you got to get that footwork right. Yeah. That's, I mean, pretty early on, I figured I'm not going to be that guy. It's just, you want people to enjoy themselves, and if they want your help, they'll either ask for it or not. I'm good either way.
Yeah, I would definitely say, to anyone starting out new, or not even new, who wants to improve, just having that coachable mindset yes, like people should keep it fun. But if you want to improve, like this sport is more fun when you're good at it. I think
everything's more fun when you're good at it.
I had a long break, there where I didn't play for a while. I went back and just not good as I used to be. And it sucked. It wasn't as fun. And so, for people that are learning, if you're getting upset, people or friends or whoever giving you tips and you're getting upset, then I feel like you don't really want to be good. You just want to, I guess it's an ego thing, don't have an ego. If you play with someone that's better than you, if they're willing to help you, just be coachable and, learn as much as you can.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I was exceptionally lucky. I had, like I said, I had Jeff Watson to learn from. I don't really consider him a teacher. He would be wearing flip-flops and I'm wearing my Nike Sharks, and he's still out throwing me and doesn't even look like he's trying. And I'm like, hey, Jeff, how do you do that? He goes, well, you just grip it and all of a sudden reach back and like, bam, there it is. And it's like, okay. And ultimately I had to kind of take what he was doing and try to emulate it. But, I mean, my gosh, we've had so many good players in the state. Steve Slazer, PDGA number 55. He was one of the top rated players before Climo took over the number one spot. And so there were a lot of good people to emulate. And yeah, it can be daunting, but it's also inspiring to see people that are better than you, and it shows you what's possible, and then you can work toward it.
Absolutely. All right, Greg, let's keep moving along with your journey in disc golf, right? So you got into disc golf, started kind of taking it seriously. How do you go from just somebody who's going out every now and then to a world champion? Kind of take me through that process of how long did it take for you to start playing tournaments? Why did you start playing tournaments? And as you were getting better, was there anything you were really focusing on, or did it all just kind of start clicking for you?
Well, I mean, I started playing tournaments fairly early on because Sarasota, where I grew up, was an incredibly active area for disc sports in general. So, and plus, Jeff was at the top of his form pretty much very shortly after I met him. So, yeah, my first tournament was in 76, which is the same year I graduated high school. For a lot of people may or may not know this, but I was an entertainer for a long time. I was a professional juggler, and I started getting bookings on the road and realized that maybe I can book myself into a venue at the same time as a tournament, and really started doing that as my MO. I started looking to book myself into comedy clubs, mostly on the road during the same weekend as a show. So pretty much all day I would be throwing stuff horizontally, and then all night I'd be throwing stuff vertically. So burnt the candle at both ends, but and it was always a battle for me because I was trying to be a really solid entertainer so I could get these bookings and make the guaranteed money. But at the same time, I'm trying to be the greatest disc golfer. And so there was a lot of pull to try to excel at both or all three, because you're talking about juggling and stand up, and it was crazy. I was burning the candle at both ends, trying to get good at both. But there's nothing like tournament play to really hone you in and get you to focus on your game. My game early on was probably more about putting and approach shots. I was a real good scrambler, and in '87 it really started to gel. I ended up getting 11th at the U.S. Open overall in golf, 10th at Mid-America. Let's see, it was like 7th, 8th in Fort Wayne, 7th in Cincinnati. And I thought, well, gee, I've got the Indiana States, the Ohio States, and then doubles and then singles. So I'll probably get 4th and then 3rd and then 2nd, and I'll win worlds. Yeah, that's how it's going to happen. Well, I ended up actually winning Indiana States. Figured I peaked too soon. Got, I think, 2nd in Ohio State, and Sam Ferrens and I actually got 2nd in Worlds, and I ended up winning the first playoff ever for MPO at Worlds. And this is actually the first time it was ever held out, the only time that it's ever been held out of the United States. In Toronto. So I was like just out of the country. But yeah, I love giving the other MPO champs a bunch of grief. Sure, you can win it at home. I had to leave the country and bring it back. But yeah, in Worlds, there's no question. Mike Sullivan, who lived right there at the course, he and I tied on the final hole. He parked it 6 feet behind the basket. I left it 40 feet short and bagged it to force a playoff. And he was out driving me on every hole, and I was pretty much out putting him on every hole. So I wouldn't say that's my strong suit now, though. I'm not even sure if I have a strong suit now. But anyway, it varies. It's always variable. Sometimes the putting's on, the driving's kind of meh, and sometimes the driving is just fabulous, and the putting isn't there. This year, I did a lot of prep work for Worlds and the Solinsky. And in particular, I was probably off the tee at the Solinsky as well as I've ever been, even in my youth. But the putting just wasn't there. I got a bad case of the yips right near the end, and just couldn't pull it off. So like I said, it varies from day to day. When I step onto the tee, I never know which guy's going to show up. It's always, I guess it keeps it interesting.
Take us back, for if you, as much as you can remember, that even, I guess, just that final round or just, the overall, when you won Worlds, what was it that was on for you? Because I feel like, especially right now, I mean, this round one, I'm going to keep talking about this because, disc golf is back on, but I think in the top 15 players, it's from first place to fifth, everyone, there's so many players, contending, and the one that's going to win is the one that has it on, the one that has that X factor that weekend. So what was it for you when you won Worlds, that you felt or that was just working?
Well, I don't think I'd be overstating it to say I was the best putter at that tournament. I missed, I think, one inside 40 pretty much the whole week. So yeah, no matter where I was, my putt was confident enough that I could hit it. And, I was hitting 50s and 80s pretty regularly. I would say that I was putting then like the top 5 are kind of putting now, except I was doing it with archaic plastic, they nothing as fast. I think our fastest disc in 87 was something like an XD classic rock. So, we didn't have high-speed drivers at all. And I was not a powerful thrower. I used to tell people I have unbridled accuracy. I couldn't throw all that far, but I never missed.
Were you just good at practicing? Did you practice a bunch, or was it something with hand-eye coordination? You were a juggler. Hand-eye coordination is huge in other sports. Was it a combination of that, or did you just practice, 10 hours a day?
No, I couldn't practice 10 hours a day. I had my act, and I was on the road, and but I did practice extensively, and I did a lot of speed golf early on, a lot of speed golf, and it really helps with your instinctual game. You don't have time for analysis paralysis. You don't have time to think about your shot. You know what you're doing 15, 20 feet before you get to your lie. And once the foot is behind your lie, you're throwing. And so I did an enormous amount of that. And it actually really improved my confidence and my instinctual game. So it made it a lot. I didn't have to think about what I was doing nearly as much. And so, yeah, it was zero question. It was absolutely my putting, and it was on just because I was on tour that year. And like I told you, my tournament finishes just kept creeping up incrementally and peaked at the precise right moment. I literally, and I still tied, and I had to win the playoff. So yeah, there was no question. It was all about putting. I'm hoping to get the video of the playoff. I have it. I have the video of the playoff. I just haven't been able to post it on YouTube. I'm hoping to get that posted. And when you see me drive, you're like, there were times back then when I was still doing like a hop skip. I wasn't even always doing my X step. So I've changed my form 3 times since winning Worlds, my driving form since winning Worlds. But putting, that changes without me. And I have to keep going back and finding it. But easily the putting was the magic bullet there.
Yeah, we got to get that video on YouTube. I'm ready to watch that playoff and see how it went down. So you're gonna have to let us know when that happens. But let's talk a little bit, I guess, about how can newer players, those guys and gals who are signing up for their first ever tournaments this year, or maybe you're somebody who's been playing tournaments for a while and you're looking for an edge to get better. Would you say that speed golf is a good idea before a tournament? Maybe go to the course if you have that ability and just not even think and just roll through the course? Or what are some tips you have for playing better in tournaments?
I wouldn't say, speed golfing through a course that you're not familiar with is a good idea. Not to say that I haven't done that. I've done that on numerous occasions. In 2008, I had the record for the most amount of courses played. And I found out that Ben Calhoun was trying to beat my record and beat me to 1,000. So can't have that. So I set up a tour and I went on the road to hit a bunch of courses. And yeah, I pounded out a lot of courses playing speed golf, something to the tune of half of them that I played on that tour. But if you're going to play a course for, prep for a tournament, yeah, maybe you speed golf at once, but I think, you've got to play it like you're going to play it.
When you went on that tour, speed golfing, how well did you play? Better than normal, or?
Yeah, it was kind of infuriating because frequently I played better speed golfing than I did when I was slow, plodding, and methodical and playing normally. And like I said, I attribute it to just overthinking things.
Yeah.
I think that your instinctual game is probably way better than you would think. But somebody once said to me, he goes, "Man, you make this look easy." And I'm like, it is easy. We just make it hard. That's my opinion. Anyway, I think we just make it harder than it needs to be.
Yeah, we were talking to Brian Schweberger a couple of episodes ago, and he was talking a lot about how when he steps on the tee, he's trying to go completely blank with his mind and just not think about anything and just let his body do the work. And I feel like that's something that I've definitely been trying to do with my own game over the last couple of weeks. And I've definitely seen some improvement with that. So is it one of those things where when you're in that tournament setting, obviously, at least for a ton of people, I know myself included, there's a difference in the gameplay. There's a difference in how you're feeling because there's more pressure, I guess. So something, if you guys have been listening for the last couple of weeks, you've heard this, but I'll go through it real quick. Horatio and I, we've been trying to add more pressure to our rounds, yada, yada, that then tries to equivalent a tournament round. So is it almost one of those things when you step up on the tee, or maybe don't step up on the tee until you are ready to throw, and once you're on there, just go for it and stop thinking about it? Like, how could you maybe implement some of those speed golf ideas or tactics, or I'm not finding the right word, but how could you implement speed golf into your actual tournament rounds to allow your mental game to be a little bit better?
Well, admittedly, it's a very different scenario playing speed golf than just regular golf. Really, like I said, it just comes down to, when you step on the tee, you should have an idea of what you're going to do and just allow yourself to execute. And here's something that I'm going to change it up a little bit here for a moment. But one thing this speed golf does not allow you to do, or it really doesn't give you time to do, and that's think about how you're doing. You want to think about what you're doing, not how you're doing, because when you think about how you're doing, you're not in the present. You're in the past, thinking about all the shots that you've done until now, or you're placing a value on the shot for the future of what it may mean to your round. And really, what you're supposed to be concentrating on is this throw right now. You got to be in the present. I think one thing disc golf teaches you is to be in the present. And the more you start, I've been swilling, oh, this is going to suck, and that there's a good possibility you're right. But yeah, man, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I figured that out. It was like World Championships in, it was 94. I think that was the first year that I was eligible for Masters, because it was 35 at the time. And I thought, well, I'm just going to go win this and then go right back to playing Open. And with 3 holes to go in the Worlds, it was working. And then I started thinking about how I was doing instead of what I was doing. And I ended up taking third because I made some tactical errors that I probably wouldn't have made if I had, just allowed myself to take it one shot at a time.
That's super interesting. We've talked about it a bunch of times, but, it's just, you start to hear from so many people that, it makes you think, or makes you like, this is true. Like, this is definitely something that happens. Like, how much of it is mental? I talk about all the time about how some of my best rounds are me playing by myself. I don't care about score. I don't care about impressing or out driving. Yeah. Or out driving the person I'm playing with, or whatever it is, or trying to show them that I can throw this disc how it's supposed to, or whatever. Like I'm just out there, like you're out there. It's really, it's genuine disc golf. Like, you're out there just playing, you're not out there doing much more than that. You're not worried about how you're doing.
Just
like
enjoying yourself.
Yeah. And, I think if people can, transfer that over to tournament rounds, or, to league nights or stuff like that, that's where people start to enjoy it and play better, for sure.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit more about how someone can play better in tournaments. Would you recommend, let me backtrack, I guess. How would you recommend approaching a tournament weekend, right? So let's say it's today's Thursday, right? Let's say maybe Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, midweek, something like that. Maybe it's the week before because you don't have time. How would you prepare for attacking a tournament? Would you try to play that course as much as possible? Would you not touch a disc for a week and just let all that muscle memory take over? How would you prepare for a tournament?
Well, this asking me that question in the 80s and asking me now, you're going to get 2 entirely different answers. But I did a lot of prep. I found that, believe it or not, yoga has an enormous was an enormous plus for me. Being somebody that used to juggle a bowling ball, a machete, and an apple for a living, my upper body would be just really super tight. And, I did a lot of running, and it just the stretching in general, and making sure that the body is going to be able to perform the functions that your brain assigns it. That's a pretty big deal right there. Now, also, when I'm now that I'm older, it's energy conservation never even occurred to me. I didn't even thought about it until I slammed into 50. And then I had to really start considering that. But in the early days, just drill, get out, do your driving and your putting and your rolls and your skip shots and the occasional lefty, make sure your flick is working. I had a real solid flick up until 2005 when I tore something in my right shoulder. And so, yeah, I mean, for the young guys, if you've got a lot of energy, and I just say go out and do your drills, man. I may have touched this on the group chat, but you really aren't likely to find any top level athlete that got good at his sport by playing the sport. Yeah, I think most of them get good by doing the drills and ingraining particular skills one at a time, and whatever that skill may be. But you do your drills, and then when you need them on the course, if you've done your job, they should be there for you. That's a big one. That is a really big one. And when you're young, that's when you want to do all of the most intense work, obviously. And I mean, when you're older, you want to make sure your body is going to be able to perform. So weight training helps, stretching helps, doing the band, pulling on the band kind of thing. Now, when I was younger, I played a lot more aggressive. I would try the hero shot now and again, but you always have to weigh that. Whenever you're on the tee, you have to weigh the odds of this hero shot that, that little evil guy on your shoulders, like, go for it. Come on, go for it. You can do it. And, there's a guy on the other side like, well, Andrew Fish. Actually, that's the guy right there. I don't know if you've heard of Andrew Fish, but he actually printed up a disc that said, I solemnly promise to play boring golf. Because, a lot of times an absolutely boring round of golf, and you add it up and it's like, wait a minute, this guy crushed it. And didn't make mistakes. He didn't do the hero shots, but he didn't make mistakes. And, that makes a big difference too. Right? I can tell you that's like Climo, his putting was such that he never blew by. He had sort of a lift putt. And so, that was one of the big keys to his success. So an awful lot of things. And I was answering for both the old and young me.
What are some of the drills, that you would recommend for those, younger players to work on to help build their game?
Well, obviously, it's interesting because Ed Hedrick's game, the round 9 putting game, I'm sure you've seen that, where basically, they have 9 positions around a putting basket, and they get incrementally longer. And that was surprisingly helpful because you're putting at the basket pretty much you're making an entire circle around the basket, and you're also putting with different, the wind. So you're putting at different wind angles, so that's one thing, and learning to putt from short range to further and further and further out. Another thing that I always did when I was younger, I ran for 10 minutes. And at the end of that 10 minutes, like the last 2 or whatever, I would do the trunk twist run that you see football players doing. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of warms up your X step, so to speak. And I would do crunches and back extensors, again, just trying to make sure my body was ready. But, you want to get the sidearm ready. You want to get your rollers ready. So, I mean, all of that stuff factors in. Again, one of the reasons I think I did well is that I had Steve Slazer as a role model. And I always thought Steve Slazer was kind of a junk pitcher, if you know what I mean. Are you familiar with that term in baseball? Any baseball player knows what a junk pitcher is. That's a guy that does sliders and curveballs and knuckleballs. And for me, being an overall player, I knew a lot of ways to deliver a disc. And so that really helped with my scramble game. Just another obscure skill that I developed over the years was, you may have heard one of my nicknames is the Miniac. I did a lot of stuff with mini discs. And if you Google YouTube Frisbee on Letterman, one of the first videos that comes up is me on Stupid Human Tricks holding a mini Frisbee up with my breath for like 10 seconds. I also learned to throw a mini like a whammo, like a really light 11 to 15 gram whammo. And I threw one of those things 330 feet one day with a hook thumber throw. So, you got it on the hook thumb and you're throwing it like a baseball, almost completely upside down, and it flips in flight. So all these little weird, obscure skills that I just really enjoyed trying, I figured out a way to sort of integrate them into my game. And I think having a good scramble game is probably one of the more underrated and under-practiced skills nowadays. A lot of the old school courses, they don't require you to scramble. You're driving and you're putting. And I'm just glad we've started moving away from everything's par three. I think that's not golf.
Agree. Literally cannot agree with you more on that. I know there's a episode way back when that we did together, Horatio, where I was like, I hate that everything is a par three. This is ridiculous. Let's get some par fours, some fives in there. So yeah, couldn't agree more. And while we're kind of discussing a little bit of course design here, I'm going to segue us into talking about your experience with course design. So Greg, how did you first get into course design, and how long have you been doing it?
Ooh, boy, there's a good question. I started messing around with it in 81, thereabouts. Actually, probably younger than that. As I said, I had the record for the most amount of courses played for 15 years. And once I hit 1,000, I started reflecting on all these different courses that I had played. And I realized that about a third of the courses that we had played, or that I had played, were so grossly below anything that could be considered a standard that, man, we've got to do better than this. And I started thinking about this because I don't know, I have like 19,000 holes in my head. And we assume I'm referring to disc golf when I say that. But, and I wouldn't I wouldn't go out of my way to play the very best courses necessarily. I'd play whatever was on my way to my next gig or my next tournament. And I learned a heck of a lot from the bad courses too. You really want to learn what not to do as well as what to do. Gosh, I didn't really even open up a company until 2010. But by then, I had already played 1,000 courses, and I was intent to improve upon the state of disc golf one course at a time. And so, yeah, it's just par fours. You want very obvious landing zones that if you take a little bit more of a chance, you may have a better opportunity. But reaching that landing zone would be a slightly bigger challenge or a bigger risk, that kind of thing. And I approach disc golf design a little different than Chuck Kennedy, for instance. I mean, that man can quantify anything. He's a mathematician, and so he uses a lot of formulas. As you know, he did the rating system for the PDGA, and a lot of other different math-based things. And I need to be on the ground. I need to be able to see what I'm looking at, and you have to be able to look through trees, that kind of thing. But the main thing is being able to look outside of your own game. That is a big one. I've had a lot of experience designing courses that were just pitch and putt courses that were not suited for my game at all. And that's fine. I enjoy putting those kind of courses in because I know I'm spoon feeding the newbie, and we need a lot of that as well. So it really just depends on who your demographic is aimed at, or what your what demographic you're aiming for.
Yeah, this is kind of just a personal, just for my own What do you think is like about the minimum amount of land that you need to build a fun 9-hole course?
Well, the rule of thumb that I've quoted for years is roughly an acre a hole. And, obviously, if you've got fair amount of tree coverage, then theoretically you should have some good bufferage between these fairways. If you don't, then you're probably going to need more acreage, especially if you're going to start doing par fours and fives. On the other hand, gosh, I've managed to get 9 holes on 3.5 acres. Definitely don't recommend it.
Yeah.
But it can be done if you are a little bit thoughtful about where you're giving people an opportunity to throw. I mean, how said it early and continues to say, imagine the worst possible shot and somebody will throw one worse than that. So it really, like I say, that's one of the advantages I have. I mean, obviously I've played at the upper level, but I've also taught beginners. And so you really get to see the full spectrum of skill out there. And, you have to be realistic about applying those skills based on which tee you're going to or which pin position or basket you're going to. And not everyone can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see the wheels turning in your head there, Horatio, when you were asking that question and listening to the answer. I could physically see those wheels turning. Maybe 9 acres is doable.
Oh, I mean, 9 acres is doable for 9 holes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, the more tree coverage you have, the more bufferage you're going to have between fairways, which is important. And, you want it to be fun, fair, and safe. Although when I speak to parks people, I try not to use the word safe when referring to a very specific hole or feature of a hole. I try to use the term, this should greatly reduce the likelihood of an incident.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason I was asking is I'm from Kansas, and I mean, we're one of the things we like to do, we live here in Kansas and we have families. We're going to be here for a long time. So me and my wife, we'd like to buy a house that's on some land. If you're going to live in Kansas, you might as well have some land. Like, what's the point of living in the middle of nowhere, but everything's so expensive and they don't want to give us a house. We've offered on some with land, and ones that we've offered on, I was already on Google Maps planning out the course, what I could do and stuff. And especially here, it's hard to find properties that have trees. A lot of properties out here, it's just bare land, which would make for a very, very boring disc golf course, a 9-hole.
Not if you put the mozzarella sticks up.
Yeah, which I guess you could do something like that, but then it'd be goofy. But I think that's a goal or a dream of mine that I'd love to do. So it's very. I was excited to talk to you about that for sure.
Yeah, well, I guarantee you, you share this dream with a very broad demographic within disc golf. I think that once you get the bug, I think that it is it's only natural. You're driving and you're looking. I mean, like, people constantly do this. Anytime you're on the interstate and you hit an interchange, it's like big DOT intersections and overpasses, and you're like, oh, I could do something with that hole.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just natural. Everybody wants to design a course. Not so many people want to actually build a course.
Yeah.
One of my favorite sayings is, if you want the course to yourself, call a work day.
Yeah.
Not true always, obviously, but
yeah. Even then, I was stuck for COVID or whatever a few times, and I'd go out to the course on on a Tuesday at 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and there'd be a ton of people there. I'm like, we're like, I'm home for like sick or whatever reason. Like, why are you guys here? Don't you guys have jobs? So, which is awesome to see. But I think we've had a ton of good topics. You've had a ton of insights into a bunch of subjects. I think it's time to get this moving along and get you on your way. What are we going to talk about today for your hot take?
My hot take. Wow, there's so many things that I could go off on, but I mean, the hot take right now is just boom, how it's exploding. I mean, COVID has absolutely been disc golf's shot in the arm, and it's fabulous. I mean, I think because of that, there are some things happening that are just unprecedented. And like I said, I mean, there's something that I'm talking about right now that I wish I could divulge, but I cannot at this moment. Hopefully it'll be news, but just the fact that when I won Worlds in 87, I'd say maybe 10-15% of people that I spoke to even knew what I was talking about. Like disc golf. You mean discount golf, right? No, not discount golf. Disc, high, flat plastic flying discs. That's crazy, really? And now I would say maybe 15% of people have not heard of disc golf. I mean, the couple of big contracts that have just happened recently, that's been incredible, man. It's fantastic. There are moments when I'm jealous. Like, man, I wish I had I might have gotten that $10 million contract, but it's just, we're all standing on the shoulders of those who came before us. And, there's a lot of people standing right here. And, I was standing on the shoulders of those below me. So, it's a natural progression. I'm really excited for where disc golf is going. I'm very, very happy to be involved on the course design aspect because, my courses are nurturing new players to become competitors. And so I'm not sure that's in the spirit of the hot take you were looking for, but it's just a great time for disc golf, and I'm really excited for where it's going. And I can't wait to see what happens next.
I love that, and it is so cool. I mean, you can even look at Jomez Pro. I'm pretty sure I don't want to butcher this, but I'm pretty sure the deal was 2 years, $500K to the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and they now have the next 2 years guaranteed every single Disc Golf Pro Tour event. Jomez Pro is going to be there for MPO lead card coverage. So that even before COVID, I don't think that number would have even existed. So I can't agree more. I know we've said it before that the fact that COVID really truly has done a lot of bad things in this world, but by golly, has it taken disc golf to the next level. And hopefully it's a level that is sustainable and not a level that we'll see, or not a bubble that we'll see burst. I don't foresee it bursting anytime soon. I think this is definitely sustained growth, but at a point there will be a drop off. We just have to see how far that drop off will be.
Well, certainly. And I certainly, in saying that it has been disc golf shot in the arm, I by no means wanted to gloss over the incredible heartache and difficulty that it has imposed on those who've had it and didn't make it, and their families. But if there is a positive side to it, I mean, as a disc golfer, that's it. To me, and I think that it will continue to grow. I think that it will start seeing major sponsors. I believe we are now poised to see that where we haven't before. We've seen the occasional big name sponsor, but it's generally local. From that individual tournament director, not necessarily on the tour, sponsoring the tour, but sponsoring these individual events. And so I'm very excited to see how that's going. I'm very excited to see entrepreneurs, whether you agree with me or not, like Steve Dodge, who really took a big leap of faith and pushed, the Pro Tour out there. And, there's a lot of people that PDGA bash. I am not one of them. In fact, I've been on several PDGA board positions over the years, and I think they do a lot of really great things for the sport that people just take for granted. I mean, nobody would have a player rating if it weren't for a PDGA event. And just the discussions and the information and all of the things that happen just because somebody has a rating. That's pretty amazing. I mean, they have a magazine, and they do amazing things. And I'm hoping that the PDGA continues to do what they've done and find a way to expand to make disc golf accessible everywhere.
Yeah, super excited to see how this continues to grow. I think one thing that gives me hope for it continuing to grow at this speed is just the interest from young people. A lot of the people on tour, some of the pros are very young. I think there's something very enticing about that life, playing disc golf for a living, living in a van, traveling, having, family, friends who that's your life. I think that's very enticing to young people, if like any trend or any, I guess, thing that grows, it's fueled by, young generations, people who, get into it and push it, make it trendy online on social media and all that. So, I think that's what's going to really fuel this to the next level for sure.
Yeah. Well, don't let me break into Whitney Houston's, I believe the children are our future, but it's true. I mean, it is absolutely true. So we gotta pave the way for them. And, but at the same time, having a good old farts tour would be pretty cool too.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's I think the Edge program is a good idea, and I think that opens a lot of doors, and spreading information, the correct information, is huge. One of the things that kills me is like nomenclature. Like everybody in disc golf and ultimate in particular, they call that throw a Scooby, and it's not, but more people think it is. So it's true because more people think it is. But, and that Scooby's actually held like a backhand and thrown from here over this way. And then that pterodactyl throw that Big Germ does, that's actually a scuba. But anyway, I'll tell you something I was just thinking about that is going to help. I don't know how we do this. I'm not sure how we do this. This is something I fight with on a regular basis, is providing proper information to parks departments and those that have disc golf on their land. Those that, we want the best disc golf course possible. And, we want the Pebble Beach of disc golf, and they can't afford the pebbles, let alone the beach. And, there's a lot of misconceptions about what it takes to put a disc golf course in. And so the education of what it does require, that's a big one right there. That is a very big one. And how we get that to the parks departments, we're still working on that, but I think that would go a long way towards improving our venues. And unless, we start down the road, just start doing all private venues.
I hate to put it on the shoulders of Jomez, but I feel like they kind of have a torch at the moment, that they're caring for the sport. I feel like even something that they could do, with someone who's building a course or who has built a course and doing, videos or something like that, just like a process of what it takes to build a course. And I think it would have been cool. The only thing I can think of currently is Eagles Crossing. If they had done some kind of documentary type thing, where they followed that owner and the designer along while they did that, put that in a documentary video style to where, people could see it and people could go look at that, or you could show that to parks departments, or like, oh, this is what it takes, this is kind of what we look for. I feel like something like that would be something that we could
a
do.
documentary of that would have been astounding, and I've thought about this for years. I thought it'd be interesting to put together a game show where you get a big chunk of land and you get 3 to 5 teams of 2 people who go out and spend some time on the property and submit proposed layouts, and just sort of have some experts look at them and kind of judge, which one. I didn't obviously write the show or try to pitch the show, but I thought it would be an interesting concept. But I mean, the good thing about private venues is they don't have the red tape. They can do whatever they can afford to do. And so that means, well, here's an interesting thing. If you look at DGCR and look at the list of the top 10 courses on the planet, I believe you'll find that Idlewild is like the only non-private course on that list of the top 10. And then if you do the top 10 private courses, it's the same list. It's just Idlewild isn't on there because it is a public course. But so that should tell you something right there, that private courses, they can get away with so much more. And really, it's just a matter of what they can afford to do.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And you, like we talked about in our big group episode, like you can do almost virtually anything you want. You can build an Eagles Crossing, you can build a Maple Hill, you can build anything. Whereas with the park department, you have to go through all these hoops, all this red tape, like you were saying, and maybe what you had in your head doesn't even come close to what you were able to do because people along the way said no. So yeah, completely understand that. Horatio, let's get into the ACE round. Could you maybe describe that for newer listeners and get us started with question 1?
Yep, just same questions we ask every person that we have on, just to get an idea of, inside of everyone's head, and try to give a quick, rundown to new players, something to take away from the episode. First question we got is, you're taking a player who wants to buy their first set of discs. What one putter, mid, and fairway or driver do you recommend to them?
Well, I should start by saying that a starter kit with 3 discs is obviously the no-brainer there. But I love telling people that overstable is overrated and understable is underrated, because it really is. And so I would always go with lighter weight discs, putters, and mid ranges at first. And even if you do buy that starter pack, I'm still going to tell you to take that fastest one and set it aside for a while. I mean, I've been giving that analogy of learning to throw discs is like a staircase or a ladder. You want to start at the bottom rung and work your way up really slowly. Otherwise, you got your foot way up above your head trying to you're just making the climb harder. And so, start with the lighter weight putters and mid ranges at first, because if you're trying to learn to throw with a high speed driver, well, that you're almost assuredly going to start throwing with an Anheuser, and you're not going to trust understable discs after that. Yeah. Because everything rolls, everything lands on its edge. And so if you learn to throw with understable discs first, you're going to learn what it means to get glide, because your arm, I give people the airplane analogy. a disc, left wing down goes left, right wing down goes right. And your arm is the engine here. And so the faster a disc, the harder it is to control. And the newer you are, the less arm speed you have. So if you don't have a lot of arm speed, your arm, you're trying to throw a katana, which is a 13 speed, but your arm is a katana is like a stealth jet, and your arm is well, it's a Piper Cub, and the disc is just going to fall out of the air. So go light and slow, and work your way up the ladder and be patient, and it'll come. But you have to allow yourself to work up the ladder.
Yeah, I really, really like that analogy. I think there's a lot that you can take away from that. And I cannot agree more. Start with those putters, start with those mids, then work your way up. Love that. Second question we got for you. I think this is going to be a very fitting one. Someone who's played so many courses like yourself. What is the favorite course you have played, and one course that you have not played yet that you would like to knock off the list?
That is such a huge question. Well, I mean, I'm at 1303 now, and oh my God, I mean, I'm pretty partial to the Canyon course where they do throwdown now, but as you may know, I designed the original back in when was it? I think it got pulled in 2005. Put it in 97, and it got pulled in 05. But yeah, I absolutely adored that property and the course and everything else. So, I mean, to be put on the spot, that was probably it. One of my favorites. I played a lot of other people's courses that I've enjoyed. I don't just like my courses, believe it or not. I like obscure things. I mean, I'm really dying to try that course in the caves near St. Louis. I think that would be astounding. There's a lot of courses in the Northwest. I'm trying to think of the name of the course now. I'm brain farting. I haven't had enough caffeine today, obviously. But there's a lot of courses that I'm seeing on tour that I would love to try. So yeah, I don't have one in particular. I think my favorite list is probably going to come in groups of 10, because I really do want to get back out there and do another serious course collecting tour. But I can't really think of one in particular that's like, this is the course that I've got to play before I kick it. There's so many good ones out there now.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true, especially for people who just started playing. There's so many local ones. All right, next question we got for you here is one tip you would give to yourself who just started playing.
I mean, it wouldn't have to be the go light thing, because when I started, I've pretty much seen the entire progression of disc technology. Well, I guess for me, what advice I would give myself, just based on my progression as a player, is to actually cross train. Do other things, do things other than disc golf, and some of the best players that I see out there have skills that were ingrained from other sports. Macbeth and a few other folks are Ricky baseball players, and fairly high level. Johnny McRae and I don't know if you remember Steve Valencia. Not big guys, but they were soccer players. So these guys know how to use their legs and their hips to generate power. I never really had that. I had to learn it through different ways. So I think that me personally, I would like to have told myself, do the exercises, do the work to get your legs to generate the power, your legs and your hips to generate the power, and maybe you won't be beating yourself up to throw so hard.
Yeah, I really, really like that. Fourth question we've got for you. What is your favorite memory playing disc golf?
I think one of the most amazing times that I had, there's so many great moments, winning worlds. I mean, how do you discount that? But going to Japan to play, until I went to Japan with Crazy John, and thank you so much, Craze, for inviting me over there for the first time and the second and third. The amount of respect that we got over there was just mind blowing. And, it was humbling to a degree. Just went over in 92 for the first time. And I don't believe they really saw much of fledgling players. I think their first really big experience with disc golf and disc sports in general were people like Crazy and the folks that he brought over there. And so, yeah, that was a mind-blowing experience. I'm so grateful for my international travel. Both of those were international. But yeah, I mean, to encapsulate it, anytime I'm traveling, it's generally going to be enriching. And I can't recommend enough to travel, because I think that it just enriches the soul. And I think that you learn a lot about people when you travel and meet people from areas that are not your own area. And, you end up finding out that there's some things that are very different, and you find out that there are quite a lot of things that you have in common. And so it's fun in just meeting the Frizz fam from all over the place. I would say that has had a greater effect on me than just about anything.
Yeah, there's definitely something great about, experiencing stuff for the first time. Yeah, I think that's really good for people. All right, last question we got here for you is, what is the biggest mistake you see new players make?
I think we've kind of covered it, but, just like, hey, those guys can throw 500 feet. I'm going to get myself the same exact disc they got, and I'm going to be able to do that. And, it's not going to be the case. So I think people just trying to, it's great to have role models, but you're deluding yourself if you think, I saw that guy throw 500 feet. I'm going to go out and get myself a high-speed driver, and I'll be able to do that too. Just, start slow and work your way up, and warm up. And I think that warming up is a key to longevity. But yeah, I really feel like we've kind of covered that on the whole ladder/stairs analogy, because people don't know that you have to just start slow and work your way up. There's so many little things that aren't evident to people at the beginning. And people should watch videos. One thing I will mention about the Jomez videos is that a lot of the current Jomez and high-end tournament coverage is they're kind of bigger open courses. And I don't want people to lose touch with the wooded courses, the finesse game. The finesse game is highly underrated. And, I've won like 170 tournaments without being able to throw 450. So there's a whole lot of other skill sets. I know when people ask me for lessons, 95% of the time it's about learning to throw farther. And I can help you with that at up until a certain point in your game. But there's so many other aspects of the game to concentrate on, not just putting and up shots. I mean, the whole mental aspect of the game. A lot of people, when they start playing, they aim at a tree and hope they miss. And then they start hitting the tree and they're damning their luck when in fact they're getting better. They're doing what they're trying to do. They're just trying to do the wrong thing. Don't aim for a tree and hope you miss. Aim for a window and try to hit it, and try to hit it at a certain angle at a certain speed. So that, when I hit that window, I want this disc to be at this angle, moving at this speed. Because, if you do that, theoretically, the remainder of the flight will not be a surprise.
Yeah, so, absolutely. I love that, because that is so true. Initially, it's like I'm aiming at this tree. Hopefully, I'm not good enough to hit it, and I miss, and it ends up being good. And yeah, as you get better, you start hitting the tree, and now you got to learn to not hit the tree. Yeah, that I've never heard anyone say it like that before, but that was really good. Gregg, this was so much fun. I had a blast. I know Horatio and everyone at home had a blast as well. Where can the listeners connect with you? Maybe they've got some private land and they want you to design their course. Where can people connect with you?
Well, my company's name is World Champion Disc Golf Design, and I am located in Mount Dora, Florida. My website is worldchampiondiscgolfdesign.com. I believe you can also get there by wcdgd.com. And I've got the Jones, the Bug. I love putting courses in. I was going to do a shirt that said disc golf is my Xanax, but I think really my Xanax is designing them, being out there in the woods and just looking for lines and trying to create fun, fair, and safe challenges. So I don't think I'll give everybody my phone number on this particular podcast. That might be a bad idea.
Yeah, no, well, we really appreciate, thank you to, anyone that plays disc golf, thank the course designers, that's who, because of you guys, why we get to play really awesome courses. Played one this week, and that was a ton of fun. They made do with the space they had, and it really, the time they took into, really showed. So really appreciate what you do, and, all the other course designers, and hopefully get to see, new, exciting, fun, private courses pop up. I can't wait, in 10 years, what the top 10 courses will be. I'm sure it'll be a completely different top 10 probably.
Oh yeah. It's going to be amazing. By the way, I wanted to mention also World Champion Disc Golf Design on Facebook is probably a good way to reach me as well. So I'd love to design a course for you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Best of luck this season, this year, all the work you're doing, and, thanks for coming on. Hopefully we talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much, Horatio and Q. Really appreciate the invite, and just really grateful to have the opportunity to speak with you, and just can't wait to see where the sport goes from here.
Thank you for listening to the Chain Clankers podcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chain Clankers, and hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to us from so you never miss another episode.